Oh yeah, work tacos. Just look at it. Just look at it. That is a work taco. Bye bye. Got a bunch of stuff. Obviously not all going into one motor, but one of those sets and one of those guys, and I don't know where the bearings in the bearing box. Going away to the machine shop. Well, that one I sandblasted, oh, I got a little run. Yeah, it'll be alright from 5 feet. I sandblasted the one, painted it, looks not too bad. It's bronzy. That was the idea. I was hoping it wouldn't be too brown. Looks pretty good. We're going to the taco shop, where the tacos never stop. Yum, yum, yum. Thank you. Oh yeah, look at that. Covered. You can't even tell what those are. Is it nachos? It's nachos and taquitos. Yum, 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 yum. All right. You want them to come down at the same rate on both sides. Just basically taking the tension off the spring top. Just a little bit more here. So now there's not as much tension on the top. And you just hit that. It's gonna kind of spin. So when they spin like that, you gotta go get an Allen and a wrench to get the top off. So you got the Allen and the open-ended wrench. Basically now you're just going to run this. Now it's actually going to look like it's going tighter because it's not something I can do one-handed. So basically you're just going to run this guy. This off would go this way, which means the top's going to come this way. I usually hold the bottom and then move the top. That's going to take the nut off. Now the nut's off, we're going to slowly release the tension. Actually, we'll take this guy off first. And then we'll slowly release the tension. You can see it's not popping up. So there's a little bit of extra tension on that. So you want to actually kind of break the top loose first. And sketchiness. Sorry, I couldn't do that one-handed. I had to get both hands, but basically you've disassembled. There's this little washer that was getting stuck on the top, and it wasn't allowing the strut top to come off, even under a little bit of spring tension. But just had to get it just a little tiny screwdriver and break the tension, and then it popped right off. I'll try to get my tripod set up for the reassembly. First I got to put the Konis into these ones. These are the fronts, and we're gonna get those reassembled. I have to find different top hats for the rear. These springs have the narrow top hat style. The top hats that I had were the wide ones, so these won't be able to go together just yet. But I'll find some of those top hats and get that sorted out. Oh yeah, look how angry she is. This thing's gonna rip. Ripper. It's gonna be a ripper. It's got a rip supercharger on it. Rip, rip, rip. Gonna make a rip noises. This is my dyno tack pickup, and I was putting it on this wire and it decided to give me 40,000 volts. I'm awake, don't need caffeine today. Got the other 3 springy boys turning blue. My boy Blue. And get these guys mounted to the other struts. I do still need to build the front 2 struts, which is those 2 springs there. And I have the correct top hats for those, so those can go right on. Still need to find the right top hats for this guy. And we'll have suspension done on the car. which is a whole entire item that we can check off the list. That's good. All right, just like on the other one, we're gonna mark down 40 millimeters here, and that is where we're gonna have our cut. So there's that one, and now this one. Mark that guy down. We're not at a critical importance, but we do want it pretty close. All right, so I'm gonna cut those two there and there, and then we'll have our fronts, and we got our box of parts. I need another bump stop. This bump stop was totally disintegrated. Look at that. So need another front bump. Bump stops are a good idea. A lot of people take them off because it lets you get more low. But if you max out the strut all the way to the bottom, you pretty much are guaranteed you're going to blow it, even on a premium quality strut. So you put the bump stop there to prevent that from happening. There's also some other interesting characteristics of bump stops, but you do want to limit your bump travel for sure. So I hadn't given this tool much credit when I first got it. I was a little disappointed, but I'd been cutting wood with it, which is silly. Even with a wood blade, it just didn't feel like it had a lot of torque. But let me tell you, on these struts, the portability of this and being able to just, I didn't even rechuck this. I just left it like that and just went around the whole thing and cut this out. And there's like, I don't know, it cut super straight, even at an angle, and we got a good cut, good flat cut as far as sawzalls go. This is definitely now on the top of my list. The battery life's not super long because it uses the smaller battery, but that makes it nice and lightweight and portable. And I have a bunch of these batteries, so I get to swap them out. All right, here we are, a moment of truth, justice, happiness. We have our strut completed. So we have a Koni insert. This is in one of the fronts. We've got our torque down at the bottom. Now there's this little guy. It's a little bushing basically that just keeps bump stop material from getting into the seal. So we're gonna go ahead and chuck this up in the spring compressor, and we're gonna get this guy all installed. This thing's ridiculously dirty, so I'm going to go wash this off and then drop that on and then keep going. All right, so we got it washed off, and oh, we forgot something though. We need that bump stop. This is basically just going to prevent the strut from totally bottoming out. But this is a full-length bump stop, which I don't really want because we're lowering this car. We're going to want a little bit less bump travel. So I'm going to go ahead and very carefully razor blade off about just one of these ribs on this guy. This is an old, crusty bump stop. So see if we can do this without slicing my finger open. Safety third. Look at that. Got it off. Fingers still intact. So, modified bump stop. A lot of people push the bump stop all the way to the bottom. When you think about it, all it's going to do is push itself back up to the top. It's actually going to sit more than likely at the topmost part of the strut, because the strut motion itself is going up and down, and you don't really want the bump stop to move. Now we have our coil spring beautifully painted. Only some small imperfections on the top and bottom, but goes down there, and you can see it sits perfectly down in the base there, and it comes up to the top. I probably don't even need the spring compressor with this spring because it's shorter than stock, and I'm not going to use it if I don't have to. But we'll see if we can get the top hat on without the spring compressor. Usually you just need this to get OEM springs off. I just brought it out just in case we needed it. Well, got more dirty, crusty, nasty stuff, so I'm going to go wash these off too, because there's no sense in putting dirty parts onto a clean strut. And then we'll get these installed. All right, I got everything cleaned off. Now we just got to put it all together. So this is the top hat essentially. We're going to put the spring isolator on there and go ahead and set it. Now the isolator does have kind of a key position to go onto the spring. This is an old crusty one, but it's what I'm going to use. And the top hat goes on. The little dots go straight out. So you want that to be straight out with the base. There. You'll see the strut comes right through. Now the really critical component here that a lot of people forget, and it'll make tremendous noise if you don't have it, is this little cone washer. That sits on there like that, and then what that does is it allows the bearing inside this guy's still a little crusty, basically sits with that and allows that bearing to spin and not bind up on the outside of that bearing. This bearing's not in great shape. Probably just going to use these top hats for temporary. I'm going to get some camber caster adjustable ones more than likely, but these will work for now. So we're going to see if we can get the strut to come up a little bit. That there. There we go. That right there. Now this is all going to compress down into it. I am going to go ahead and use the spring compressor to compress it just a hair, so that we can get a good we're just letting it come down just a little bit so that we can get a little bit more of the strut in there. And then I've got my nut. I'll show you here. So this guy just goes on here like that. And then we'll get that tightened down. Now tightening these is a little bit tricky because as you can see you've got this little, they give you a little hex on the top there, and then you've got to tighten that 17 millimeter there. So it's going to take a couple of tools to make that work. So first we need our 17, and like I used yesterday, get this open box guy. That's going to let us still have access to that top so we can hold that in place. And then we're going to get a socket. I think it's a 10 mil. Nope, it's not. I don't know what it is. It's probably standard. Well, a 9 holds it pretty well. So we're going to take that and put that on this little guy, and it's actually going to go to the off position because again we're holding the center and we're going to turn the outside. I don't know what I did with my, there it is. that's snug. Now I'm going to see if they give me a torque spec on our instructions here. It says very specifically, do not use an impact on this, but it looks like that's going to be, the nut on that guy is an M14, I believe, so they want 59 foot-pounds. Yeah, and it's the adjustable kind. So we're going to see if we can get 59 foot-pounds on that. Again, what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the inside to go backwards on it, because I don't have any way to make that torque happen there. So we're going to grab a 9mm and put it on our torque wrench. The torque wrench, we're going to set her at 59. It seems like a lot to me. I'm going to double check that. Oh, that's an M12. It's 37. Yeah, that's definitely not a 14. That's a 12. That sounds better. All right, we're set at 37 on the dial. Let's get this thing torqued. And again, you're going to go to the off position for this, because that's the direction that's going to tighten it. I know it seems backwards. It's only backwards because you're not tightening the nut, you're tightening, I guess, the bolt, technically. All right, so here we go. It's not going to be easy. Maybe I can actually do it this way. It'd be a lot easier if you had someone to hold this. Brace that against my body. There it is. So we were really close already. So that's a torqued top hat. Top hat should spin freely. That's super important. So now we're going to let the tension off. So first we're going to realign our top. It spun a little bit. There we go. And we'll let the tension off. And that's nice. Lost a little bit of my paint. I'll have to touch that up. But there it is. Let's get the tape off the bottom. Painting springs is not the best way to color springs. Should powder coat them, but for the sake of money and time, just trying to make them not look awful like they did when I bought them. They were pretty chunky, rusty. So there's one completed Koni strut. Yeah, it's a Koni. You wouldn't know it was a Koni if I didn't tell you it was a Koni. But it's got this little guy here, and they bring these little they got these cool knobs. Now these don't stay on there like a lot of struts do. The other kind of interesting thing about Konis is there's no clicks, so there's no little detent in there to have it. Come on, focus, not brightness, focus. Too close, maybe. There's no detent in the strut to tell you where it's at. So you essentially go to full loose. There it is, and then you're gonna, I guess, gradient, or not gradient, but radian your way around. So 2 full turns is going to go to full firm. So you can see I'm lined up here. 1 turn.